Hello and welcome to Kral Space. I'm Kim Kral. I am reporting to you not live in my closet. I'm looking around my closet right now and it's probably how to spruce this thing up. I'm spending a lot of time in it, not just to record the podcast, but just in general. Just kidding. I don't know if it's kind of not a joke. It's real comfortable in here, but I want to make it more spruce it up, I don't know. It's maybe paint it blue. Just one half of my closet is bright blue inside. Oh, that sounds kind of fun, actually. Hi, guys. I'm Kim Kral. I'm your host. It's Kral Space. I'm afraid I'm going to poop my pants in here. I mean, not actually. I could just stop the episode, but my body is I feel like something's coming. And I've been avoiding coming in here because I was like, oh, no, what am I going to do? I guess I could just pause it and go to the bathroom if worse came to worse. Or how cool would it be? I don't know if cool is the right word. Would it be if I poop my pants in here? Probably not cool. God, really, just out of the gate every time. I'm re-listening to all the old episodes. This is episode 8. I've been doing this 8 episodes, and I'm working on a live one for Dash Comedy. So that's really exciting. That's in the works. It was supposed to happen this week, but you know how life goes. Just a few hiccups, and we'll be back. Hopefully, it'll be up next week on Dash. Coming soon, maybe not this Monday, but soon, every Monday, 8 to 9 p.m. on Dash Comedy Radio, Kral Space will be live. Well, it won't be live until after the pandemic, which we're pre-recording. We just got word in California that the stay-at-home order will probably go through July. Through July, dude. That's crazy. I'm trying to just I don't know, wellness check. How is everyone? I mean, there's so many crazy things in the news, and I don't really want to make this a news thing because I trust that most of the people that probably listen to this are probably versed enough to listen to the news or watch the news. I don't think that you could listen to as much all of the swearing I do and all of the talk. I've talked about waxing my vagina, eating assholes. I've talked about a lot in this, and I trust that my core audience isn't super conservative and will probably read the news. That is read between the lines on what I just said there. But yeah, it's I'm trying to just take it a day at a time. And I know that that's super cliche, but I don't know, man. If you think about just staying in here, I mean, I'm kind of okay in my home, and California takes care of us really well with the whole unemployment thing, but that's supposed to run out in July. But I guess if they extend the stay-at-home order, they'll probably extend taking care of us financially, because I don't have a job, because all of my jobs are around humans, and we're not allowed to be around humans because the planet is dying. Not the actual planet. Well, the planet's actually healing. I don't know. I made 25 masks yesterday. I'm selling some. I'm donating some. I'm giving some away. I don't want to make any more. It's very tedious, and I've yelled so much at my sewing machine. But they're one of the things in the news. Like I said, I'm not going to do the news, but I just don't understand this one thing. And I mean, I don't understand billions of things, but behaviors of humans. I don't understand billions of behaviors of humans. But one of them, people are really mad. Protesters are upset that they have to wear masks outside or indoors. They have to wear their masks when they leave their home. And it's just so stupid. It's a stupid thing to be mad at. Were you mad when we have to wear pants when we leave our home? When that whole thing came about and pants were discovered, where there's a bunch of idiots that were protesting that. I just don't understand. I went to Trader Joe's for my monthly trip a couple of days ago. Cried in there too. Jesus. I just every time I see a human and I don't know, the guy was we were talking and he was really nice, and I've talked about this, the bagging at Trader Joe's. It's so weird not to help them. Especially now I'm buying a month's worth of food. So I'm just watching them bag it, but you want to stay away, whatever. And And I just like I was just like, thank you for working, or I know it's probably really scary. And he goes, well, I grew up in Hollywood, and that's the least I can do for my community. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, don't stop. I'm gonna start crying. And the woman who was bagging, they looked at me, and I was like, I don't know. Every time I leave my house and I see people, I cry. But he told me that some woman like flipped out when she came into Trader Joe's because she didn't want to wear her fucking mask. That's insane. Wear your mask. Like, oh my God, if you are listening to this and you follow me, you're my friend, you're friends on Facebook, any association with me, and you think that you shouldn't have to wear your mask because it's bad, inhibits, I think that might be the word. No, that's not the word, but it fucks with your that's better. Fucks with your constitutional rights. Unfollow, unfriend me. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, again, first of all, every bar I've ever worked at has a big sign that says we reserve the right. Wow, guys, I'm not great with my words today. We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone. Like, why is this mask thing? Especially when it's like it's so crazy. It's just so crazy. And it's insane how many people just don't want to listen to science, and they think that like the government is out to get that. Like, I don't know, but like I do know that I find it a little bit weirder that that they need you to get back to work because they're not making money if you're not working. Like, they don't give a fuck about your life, but you think that them asking you to wear a mask, and whoever they, you know who I'm talking about, like, they sound so conspiracy theorist. I promise I'll stop soon. I don't know. Just wear your goddamn mask. What? And yeah, so I'm making them, and I think I'm gonna, I don't know. It's getting real tedious. And every time I'm like, I am done, then someone I love very much text messages me and is like, can I have another mask? Or are you still making masks? And I'm like, yeah, I'm still making masks. So I'm making masks. I'm charging some people though, if we're strangers or acquaintances, or, not acquaintance. I don't know. Like, my best friend I didn't charge. You know what I mean? This got weird right off the bat. Let's see here. I wrote down a bunch of stuff I want to talk about today. I have I think I'm gonna get right to the poop scoop. How's that? Let's get right to the poop scoop. I think I want to get what is it called? The soundboard, to where when I go, it's the poop scoop time, and then there's a toilet flushing, but I don't know if that's too far. So poop scoop today. This is Kim Kral, by the way. I think I already said that. We're on Kral Space. Okay, so this is a story all about how I, just kidding. So this is like 6-7 years ago. I had this boyfriend named Rob, fucking Rob. And oh man, I don't think I've talked about him yet, but he was just, he's a conservative man, Republican. I would not be shocked if he voted for Trump. I haven't seen him in years, like since we broke up. But yeah, he was an accountant and a race car driver, but not like a real one, like one like with a Subaru on like a dirt road in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of other nerds. God, we had to talk about race cars so much. I did really like him. Rob was a significant relationship in my life, but looking back, just, and he hated me, man. I mean, I think he loved me quite a bit, but I think he really hated me too. Because Rob ended up marrying some broad that I used to model with, actually. And like, when I first saw that they got together on Facebook, because I'm friends with her, I was like, no. But then I was like, I was like, should I warn her? Because he had just like a trail of ex-girlfriends. One of the ex-girlfriend, or the girlfriend after me, who later became an ex, used to follow me and unfollow me constantly on Twitter. And then one time I like DM'd her after they broke up, and I was just like, hey, and she was like, we both have terrible taste in men. Like, he just had like a trail of broken hearts behind him, because it was like he would like love bomb or whatever. Like, I think it's love bomb, where it's just like lots of love. And then one day he was just done, and it was really heartbreaking. It was a big heartbreak for me. But oh man. But yeah, like, his wife now is just, like conservative. They both like their guns. They're both pretty boring. And I'm like, I'm a wild card. Like, Rob was just, oh, poor Rob. I look back on that relationship, and like, he he would just be like, you always make me feel so bad about myself. And it's just because I wasn't constantly doting on him. I can't be in a relationship with a guy who needs me to constantly dote on them. I'm a independent broad, you know. So Rob and I got into a fight one night. No, we didn't did we? Yeah, we got in a fight. Well, we didn't get in a fight. I just got super drunk. It's so funny. This guy drank every day. And he was just like, I think you drink too much. Cause like I would get drunk every now and then, but he would this guy had like a bottle of wine a day. I think he had this big ass wine belly, whatever. I don't think I don't, halfway through or like a little bit through every episode, I started thinking, I'm like, do you think they listen? I don't know. If he listens, I feel like that's more on him. I'm your ex-girlfriend. It's weird if you listen to my hour podcast weekly. If you do, what's up, Rob? And now you'll hear a story about something I don't think you knew about when we were together. So, one night I got real drunk, right? I ran an open mic in, I think I've talked about this. I ran an open mic in North Hollywood called Mouthy Pants. And he came to it. And it was so funny. Like, my comedy buddies were always like, you could tell when Kim's boyfriend was there because Kim was on her best behavior. And then when her boyfriend wasn't there, I would just let loose. He was so conservative. But he was like always telling me what to do. Like, he'd text and be like, what's up, babe? How are you? I'm like, I'm at sushi with my friends. And he's like, I really think that you could be using your time more wisely, like working on your website. And like, yeah, probably. But like, also, you're not in charge of me. So one night he showed up. I think he showed up and I didn't know he was going to be there. And I was super drunk at Mouthy Pants. And so then I started crying. I can't remember. I think my family was there. This isn't part of the poop story. I was drunk and I was crying, whatever. So he took me out of there. And then we go and get out In-N-Out Burger. I try and eat it in his precious Subaru. It gets really mad. I'm not a clean eater. Crumbs are everywhere. I dated a guy last year who asked me, he's like, do you just drink coffee over every surface of your apartment? Because there's just coffee stains everywhere. I'm just a messy eater. I have a clean apartment. That guy was wrong. There was like 4 coffee stains. I got rid of that lamp. So then we go back to his place and I try to eat In-N-Out Burger on his couch. And I just remember him standing on his couch and him being like, after everything you've put me through tonight, are you really going to eat that In-N-Out Burger on my couch? And then we go to bed and I'm crying some more. And I wake up in the morning and I like look up. He's like, I'm like in his arms and I look up at him and without his eyes opening, he goes, I'm awake. And I was like, oh, are you going to break up with me? And he goes, I should, but I'm not going to. I should. Fuck off, right? But he was being funny, but he's like, I should, but I'm not going to. And he goes, and then I was just like, I'm sorry. I think my family was there and it was just like a rough night. And just for a long story, again, maybe one day when we're way in, I'll tell you all about all that. But so it was just I was like, oh, I'm sorry, whatever. And he was just like, I know last night was really rough. I'm going to work from home today. Now that is great. That was really sweet. But I had to poop something fierce. I had to poop so bad. And I was banking on him going to work so I could go home and poop. And I lived a mile away from his house, right? And so I was like, oh, he'll leave and then I can go poop. Then he's like, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna, work from home and we'll just hang out today. I know you had a rough day yesterday, which is so nice. Not when you have to shit and you're like, fuck. And we were new. It was a couple of months in. I don't think I'd pooped there yet. And I for some reason thought that maybe he didn't know I pooped. Now I've completely debunked that. And obviously, so I don't know what to do. And I'm like, I'm going to go home for a little bit. Just and I had a drawer there. So I had stuff there. So it's not I was I'm going to go home and shower and change. It was just why don't you just change here? So I was just I'm just going to go home and take care of a few things and then I'll be back. And he's like, okay, well, I'll miss you. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm sweating. I'm going to shit my pants. I don't know why it always gets to that. It literally is we're currently in this closet where I'm please don't have an emergency in here. It's just an all or nothing situation. I blame it on college when I held it for so long. So I was like sweating, and he's like, all right, I miss you. And I was like, I miss you too. I'll see you in a little bit. So he walks me to the door, and then he kisses me again. He's like, you promise you'll come back soon? Needy, right? And I was like, I'll be back soon. It's like, I was just like, I have to go, but I didn't want to look like I had to go. So I was just trying, like, sweating, but like nodding, like, okay, I'll see you soon. Miss you too. And then I get to the elevator, and I'm like waiting at the elevator, and I'm sweating, and I'm literally like, all right, you got two options here. You shit your pants, or you go back in that apartment and you poop at Rob's. Like, those are the options. You are not making it the mile. You are going to shit your pants. So I like run back to the door, and I knock on the door, and he opens it, and he's like, you came back. And I scream, you are going to go on your balcony, and we are never going to talk about this again. So dramatic. So he's like, what? I'm like, go outside. So he goes out to his balcony, and then I go in there, and I just, I poop a lot. I let it go. And then I come out, and he's standing in the living room. So he did not go to the balcony. What a dick. And he's standing in the living room, and he's like, do I even want to know? And I was like, well, first of all, I mean, I was just like, no, we don't have to talk about it. But what did he mean? Do I even want to know? What the hell did he think I was doing in there? Like, I didn't realize that until just right now. Like, he was like, do I really want to know? What did he think I gave birth? Like, what did he think I was so freaked out? And the funny thing is, when we broke up, I had this drawer, right? And, it was like a month or so later where we like exchanged all our stuff, right? It was like a messy, sad breakup. So it was just like, oh, in a month or so I'll call him and be like, oh, can I get my shit back? Or here's your shit. I can't remember exactly what I had of his. But all he had of mine. So I go to his place, and it was really, how breakups are. It's just so sad. Like it was like we hugged, and it was like a long hug, and like, who knows? I also found out later he was like banging his ex-girlfriend right after we broke up. So like, I'm sure she was upstairs. So I don't really feel that bad for him. But he handed me, I don't feel bad for him, like, as in, like, he was acting sad that we were giving our stuff back. But I'm like, that guy could never be alone. So funny. So he hands me my bag of stuff, and I hand him his bag of stuff, and we say goodbye. And then I get in my car, and I'm like, I don't even remember what I left over there. And it was just the contents of my drawer. And I didn't need anything in that. It was just like 42 things to cover up me pooping at his apartment. 42. It was like 16 boxes of matches, poopery, spray. There was tweezers and a razor. Oh, guys, I might have to poop. I don't want to. I mean, I do. This is probably why I always get into this situation where I like almost poop my pants. Because like here I am having a hard debate. I'm like, I could go 40 more minutes without pooping. Or I could just pause and come back. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, it was like 42 items, like replaceable items. I did not need these items back. And it was just like, oh, I wonder, as he's like probably like loading up this bag, he's probably just like, what the fuck? Yeah. And I never saw Rob again until I don't know. He's actually the reason I found out that you can tell who watches your stories. So, oh gosh, I'm going to tell this, and then guys, I'm going to have to pause. I know I promised I'd never edit, but I'm going to have to pause because I'm going to poop in my closet. I'm going to poop in my closet. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm glad I did not do that in my my pants in my closet. Although it would have been on brand, but would it have been on brand? I mean, like maybe, but I can't picture myself. I can't picture it. It's very funny to me. I'm glad I did that. So, okay, I had to backtrack. I had to listen to the last few seconds just to remember what I was talking about. Rob is the reason that I found out that, like, you can tell who watches your stories on Instagram. So, like I said, Rob married a girl that I used to model with, Jessica. I can't remember if she goes by Jess or Jessica. I don't know. It's been like a decade since I've seen that broad. But we follow each other on Instagram, right? So maybe it has, whatever. We follow each other on Instagram, and, like, their wedding was really pretty. And, like, it's not a sad... God, no one believes me when I say this. Like, I don't know how much I can tell you. Rob and I broke up like 8 years ago. Like, if I was still pining over Rob, that would be a whole get into therapy situation. But, like, I was watching her stories. Like, their wedding was so pretty, and she's so pretty, and the dress was so pretty. So I was just watching her wedding. I feel I feel like when I tell this, I do look like I'm still, so I'm not, oh God, I hated Rob. So, I, I watched all the stories, and then I watched all his stories because I was just like, their wedding is so pretty. And then one day, and like this was when like stories first came out. Like, remember, for a while Instagram was just pictures, and then there was a story aspect, and I never did any stories, so I didn't know. And then I did one or something, and then I saw the like little number at the top or the bottom, wherever it is, and I asked somebody, I was like, what is that? And they were like, oh, that's all the people that watched your stories. And I was like, oh no. Well, Rob still thinks I'm in love with him. And there was nothing I could do. Like, I couldn't like reach out and be like, yo, by the way, because nothing I could do except for just be like, well, what are you gonna do? And then I had this show where Rob's best friend came with his girlfriend. They came to the show, and I had a joke about Rob and pretending I was pregnant to get him back. Whatever. It was like based on him, but it's one of my favorite jokes. And so I like told his best friend, I was like, oh yeah, I got that joke I wrote that when I was with Rob. And I was like, it's just one of my favorite jokes. And he goes, oh yeah. And then we started talking about Rob. And then I told him that whole thing about watching the stories and how pretty their wedding was. And like, I'm just telling him, and they both look at me, and I was like, yeah, so, well, now you're going to probably go tell Rob all this. So Rob really thinks I'm still in love with him. And if he listens to this, he probably still thinks so too. I don't even know if I could pick Rob out of a lineup. That's if I saw him out in the world. Like, obviously I could. He was inside me for a while. But, like, I don't think, like, he wouldn't register who he was. You know what I mean? But, like, it was a really hard breakup for me. It was rough. Oh man, guys, so we're in lockdown, like I always say. Like, this whole podcast has just been of us in lockdown. And my neighbor, okay, so I'm whispering because I'm terrified he can hear me. So I think that, like, my neighbor, it sounds like he's just like vigorously masturbating a lot, right? And so, like, not a lot, but like enough where I'm like, Jesus, thin walls, or he's just really loud, who knows? But, like, so I'm thinking, I don't know. So I have some Zoom shows. So I started talking about it and started kind of writing some bits about it. And now I have to shut all of my windows when I do the shows because, like, I was outside the other day. Not like I was just like watering my plants, and he stepped outside and he's like, hey, just curious. I hope I'm not bothering you ever. Can you ever hear me? And I was like, oh no. I'm like, oh no, just like the regular neighbor amount. Like, we're both home, so I'm assuming we both hear each other. And he's like, well, he did say, he goes, yeah, I can hear the opening of The Walking Dead. And I was like, yeah, I've been watching The Walking Dead. And he goes, how long is that season or that show? Shouldn't you be done with it by now? And then I had to tell him. I didn't have to, but you know who I am. I was like, oh, I restarted it and watched it all over again. But he can hear, I think I can hear him masturbating. So, okay, so here's the thing. This is like okay, so my cat, you've heard my cat, like, he meows. His meow is pretty intense. It's like, meow, like it's like, meow, like it's awful. And I love him. He is, where he goes, so goes my nation. But, like, and he has separation anxiety. So, like, when I go downstairs, like down to get my mail, I leave my door open. But he just, like, sits at the door and just, like, wails, right? I'm going to have to take a sip of water. I don't know, guys. That poop really tuckered me out. It was a big one, which is exciting. In quarantine, I've been very regular. It could just be the anxiety. Who knows? But I'll take it. So, I'm so distracted. So, like, I'm down there getting the mail one day, and one of my neighbors, the girl lives on the other side of so the masturbator's on the right, and then a girl and her boyfriend live on the left, and they're all right. They're nice. I've never seen them wear masks. I don't know. They go to the store a lot, and I never see them wear masks. And she's the one who asked if I'd adjust her swimming suit 4 days ago at the fucking pool, or last week at the pool, and I was like, girl, I'm not touching you. I don't know where you've been. There's a fucking plague out right now. Come on. But And so she's down there, and we're getting mail, and this is before the pandemic, and we're getting mail, and we're just catching up or whatever, and you hear Henry just like wailing, like meow, and she goes, "Whose cat is that?" I was like, "Oh, it's mine. That's Henry." She goes, "That's Henry?" So, and I laugh, and I thought it was kind of funny. And then, like, I don't know, a week later, we see each other, and I was like, dude, I can't stop laughing about that. You being like, whose cat is that? So this weekend, they had a party at the pool. So my hot neighbors that I watch all the time, the hot couple, I think I already told you guys about that, the hot couple that just swim once a week, and I just watch them swim because they're so hot, so creepy, I know. And then my the girl neighbor and her boyfriend, and then the masturbator all had like a party down there, down at the pool. And like, I was like, I mean, it's so funny how ego works, because I was just like, why wasn't I invited? Like, because I'm the only one in the corner that wasn't like invited. Well, the girl that lives below me wasn't invited, but she sucks. But like, maybe I suck too. Maybe they're like, she sucks too, because I wasn't invited. And I'm like so upset that they're all down there drinking and having a good time. And I'm just like, oh man, like watching them like a fucking lunatic. And I was just like, should I just go down there and see if they'll invite me in? And then I was like, Kral. Like, I call myself Kral, or the Kralski. I was like, Kral, if they did invite you, would you have gone? And I'm like, oh, absolutely not. That sounds terrible. I absolutely don't want to be down there with like forced small talk trying to get to know my neighbors while everyone gets drunk. That sounds like a nightmare. And then after that, you're like bonded somehow, so then they feel comfortable knocking on your door. I'm like, oh, it sounds awful. So I'm like, I think it's just being left out that upset me. But then I hear the girl neighbor, she starts impersonating my cat, and they all start making fun of my cat. And I'm so mad. I'm like, I can't believe. I'm like, when I see her next, I'm going to tell her. And I'm like coming up with all these, like, you know how you have the fake conversations in your head, or like in the shower where you're like, and this is what I'm going to say, and I'm going to make her feel this big. So I was talking to my aunt on the phone about it, and I was telling her how mad I was. And she goes, let me get this straight. It's like okay for you to sit on Zoom shows with dozens, sometimes hundreds of people and make fun of your neighbor for masturbating all the time. But God forbid they make fun of your cat. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess I talk about a lot of people on stage in the podcast. And I guess it's hypocritical for me to be upset that broad was making fun of my cat. Which, by the way, it's a jarring noise. It's my favorite noise. I love him more than anything in the world. But like, sorry, Lucy. But like, I love her too. But like, I realized, I was like, oh, I guess I can't be mad. And isn't that funny how that works? Where you're just like, you know, you're like, why wasn't I invited? And then people are like, would you have gone if you were invited? You're like, no, but I just wanted to be invited. Like, fucking ego, dude. So I was, oh man, guys, I feel so empty right now. That poop was amazing. So I was reminded the other day of my first blowjob story, and I want to tell it to you. I don't know how to segue into this stuff. I'm working with my the radio show Kral Space, and it's different when it's radio. Like when it's podcasts, like you tuned in, you clicked download, you hit, you know what I mean? Like, you know what the fuck you're listening to. But on a radio show, sometimes people just like join in, and you have to like every 8 minutes be like, you're listening to Kral Space, I'm Kim Kral, and do that whole thing. So like I think that's easier to transition, but I'm not doing that with this show. I'm just going to talk about what comes to my mind. So I was thinking about my first blowjob the other day, and oh man, you ready for this story? This story is something. So I was 17, as I've said a few times. I am so dizzy in here, guys. I think it's just like, what if I passed out? That'd be so not funny, because I'm alone in my apartment, and that might be detrimental to me. But like, if I passed out, I just feel like really like lightheaded since I did that big poop. It was a big poop, man. So my first blowjob, like, let me take a big sip of water before I tell you this story, because it's a doozy. It's a doozy. So, I was 17 years old, and okay, there's a few things you ought to know about this story first. Like I've already told you, if you've listened to the other episodes, I was missing 2 of my front teeth. So I had this like flipper that I could take out the teeth, right? And I was a late bloomer, and I was a diehard NSYNC fan. Those are the 3 things you need to know about my first blowjob. Backstory. So we used to hang out with these guys that went to another school. My best friend Catherine and I, we used to hang out with these guys that went to Regis High School. Mostly because we weren't really cool enough at our high school to hang out with the boys at our high school. So we outsourced. And then I found out later that the dudes we hung out with at Regis were just as nerdy as we were, but we had a good time. And Brandon was one of the guys whose house we'd always go over and drink at. He was the one who had the parent that like let you drink in the basement as long as no one drove. And so it was just like a big group of dudes. There's like a hot tub. We go over every weekend. I dated one of them for a while. Oh man, those Regis boys. So such a good, now I'm like thinking I went to prom with one of them. Oh God, that's a whole other story, dude. Chris Collins, Jesus fuck. Sidebar, this is so, I cannot believe I'm going to tell you this in the middle of, I don't know which is, no, I think what I'm about to reveal is even worse than my first blowjob story. But I found out years later that Chris, my prom date, the kid, like one of the first kids I ever dated in my life, I think, yeah, the first kid I dated, but we were kids. We were like 16. I found out later that when he was like 18 years old, he and his cousin got drunk and fucked. Jesus Christ, they fucked. And then for Christmas that year, the dad got him an abortion because she got fucking pregnant. I don't know if they were full-blown cousins. They were like half cousins or some shit, but still. And like when I found that out, whoever was telling me about this, yeah, this is why people think I come from a trailer park. We're from Littleton, Colorado. I don't know. And when someone was telling me that, like they're like, well, I think they just got really drunk and it just happened. I was like, what? I've been hammered with my cousin Bill billions of times. And Bill, that's funny because he has billions tattooed on his knuckles. Anyway, billions of times. And we talked about this. And I told him this last Christmas and we were laughing about it. I'm like, there has never been a moment where we were too drunk that like, and we were like, well, we've danced around this long enough. Like ever. Oh God, I don't even know if I can tell the blowjob story now. I have to because I've already gone into it, but that's the first kid I ever dated. So shameful. I can't believe I just told you that. I was so ashamed of that for so long. Like I was there and orchestrated it. I had nothing to do with it, and it was years afterwards. But I remember that cousin. She was like one of those bitchy high school girls who like got her boobs first, but was like bitchy about it. Not like Lonnie Reno, the one I talked about. She was just really proper and pretty. But this girl was like, oh my God, I'm so hot. I got boobs. And she, oh God, she was such a douche. She was just such a douche. And she fucked her cousin later. So like, I guess that, oh, yuck. I don't know. I guess we just go right back into the blowjob story. So I dated him. He was like the first kid I ever dated. And so we went over to their house. And this was after, Chris graduated and moved on at this point, and I was a senior. So we were hanging out at Brandon's house, and this guy, Rick, was always around. Rick was like this attractive Ken doll looking guy. Like he was like tall and just looked like a Ken doll. He was just really hot, right? But he was like always super nice and conservative and like just a sweetheart. He wasn't like a drunk like the other dudes. But he worked at a place called Fiddler's Green in Colorado, which is a concert venue. And NSYNC, who Catherine and I were like diehard fans, like we went to like almost like we had gone to every concert that they were in town since we'd become friends, and they were coming into town, and we just really wanted to meet NSYNC, right? I mean, like every time they came into town, we did everything we could to get there. One time we even broke into Mile High Stadium. They were performing at Mile High Stadium in Denver, and we broke in somehow. Like we were crafty and cute young girls, so like we could talk our way in and out of everything. And we saw Chris Kirkpatrick. Oh yeah, I was obsessed at this time with AOL and trying to find the real Justin Timberlake screen name. That's a lot to unpack. And this guy Poodle was their like tour manager, and he messaged me on AOL and like told me that if I found him, he could introduce us to NSYNC. Now it wasn't the real Poodle, but we met the real Poodle at Mile High Stadium. And he was like, I don't know how you got my name, but I can't let you back here. And then Chris Kirkpatrick was like, I don't know, 12 feet away. And that's the closest we ever got to meeting NSYNC. So we're at Brandon's house, like a month, months later or whatever. And Rick works for Fiddler's Green. And he's like, I have access. Oh, God. The story is like sad and weird and like my first blowjob. So he's like, I have access to backstage passes to NSYNC. So I could get you guys backstage passes. And Catherine and I are like, we'll literally do anything. And he goes, anything? And we're like, yeah. And he's like, well, I've never had a blowjob before. God, I can't believe this happened. I was like, and we were like, all right, well, let us think about it. Yeah, maybe we could do that. So we leave and we go outside and we like discuss. I don't know what the fuck there was to discuss, but we needed to discuss whether or not, oh man, guys, I don't know. Am I sick? My throat has been hurting so bad in the last few days, and now I'm like nauseous. And what if I puked in here? I probably won't puke in here. Puke, poop. Oh. So we go outside and we discuss, and we're like, well, one of us has to do it. Like, this is our shot to meet NSYNC. One of us has to do it. And I don't know what the fuck I don't know why I always, she was like, well, you're the brave one. That may have been true, but she had kissed a boy had seen her naked, she had a tongue ring, like, out of the two, like, I think I'd barely kissed a boy at this point. I had a padded bra, like, I had my little vagina shaved into the Hitler mustache, if you listen to one of the last episodes, which is so weird. I still think about how no one ever thought that was weird, but, like, so, like, I had all of that, and, like, I was just, like, so inexperienced, and Catherine had, like, had a boy's fingers inside of her, at least, you know what I mean? Like, she was experienced. She should have been, and I was missing my teeth. Like, she should have been the one that blew the dude. I mean, I guess, no, missing the teeth, it wasn't like I was, like, gummy and shit. Like, there were still teeth in there. But for some reason, she was able to convince me to do almost anything, and it usually was when she would call me the brave one. For some reason, I was like, I am the brave one. So we were like, all right, I'll blow Rick for backstage passes. I'll take one for the team. But I need to get some poly grip for my mouth. Like, I don't want my teeth falling out in the middle of this thing. That'd be a nightmare. So we go inside and we tell Rick, we're like, all right, Kim's going to blow you for the backstage passes, but we got to go to Safeway real quick so she can get some poly grip so her teeth will stay in her mouth. So sexy. I don't know. He's a 17-year-old boy. He's probably like, I don't give a fuck if you cement them in there. Just come back and blow me. But so we go and we walk to Safeway and we get the poly grip. And we put the poly grip in my mouth. And I've never used poly grip at this point. Like, they stayed in there pretty well, right? But we poly gripped them in. And then I was like, but I don't want to go in there alone. This is so weird. Like, I told this on one of my favorite podcasts. You should look it up. I put it on my Instagram a couple week ago. The SAP, Sex Actually podcast, with Dave Neal and Tasha Courtney. It's a really good podcast. And somehow this came up, and I hadn't thought about it in years. And they were like, you should tell this on stage. And then I tried to tell it on stage, and it just came off really, like, sad and Me Too-ish. But, like, I mean, it was all consensual, but I was, like, nervous. And so I asked Catherine, I was like, I'm nervous. Will you come in there with me? So Catherine's like, all right, I'll come in there with you. So we go into this room, and, like, Rick had already told his two friends, Ben and Brandon, that I was going to blow him. So, oh, no. I feel sick, guys. This is so weird. That's so scary to say in the middle of a pandemic. I have been self-quarantined, so I don't have the virus, but I maybe have the flu. That would be, ugh. So, oh yeah, so this story is all over the map. It's getting interrupted by my bodily stuff. So I'm sure Rick told Brandon and Ben, right? So Rick goes into this room. We shut the door, and we take off his pants, and there's this big penis, and it was big, dude, but he was tall, and he was like a football player type kid. And so we take off his pants, and then Catherine goes and leans up against the door, because Brandon and Ben at this point want to watch too. Apparently everybody wants to watch this, but Catherine won't let him in, so she's got her back to the door, the lights are off, and I just start sucking on this dick, right? And it's taking forever. And I find out later that it's like two reasons. Like one, he had never had one, but I don't think that's true. That's what people told me later. They're like, well, if it was his first one, he probably wouldn't have come. No, I think that would have made him come quicker. I was probably just brand new at it, and I probably wasn't very good at it. It was my first time. Who knows? There's probably a lot of factors. Also, people are banging on the door. There's another girl in the room. Maybe he was having performance issues. All I know is it was going on forever. And like my legs are numb. Like for some reason, I decided to go cross-legged. So like my legs start falling asleep. And my teeth are in there, though. My teeth are really solidly in there. Who knows? Like, so, and Catherine is like you can hear her being like, oh God, because she can hear the like, I can't make a blowjob noise, but like the slurping or whatever. And then the boys are pounding on the door trying to get in. So, I mean, probably Rick couldn't climax, and I was just trying to get him there. Like, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And then finally, like, I'm going to say 20 minutes in, I like sit up and I'm like, Catherine, I don't want to do this anymore. And she goes, okay, fine. And then turns on the light. And then there's Rick like, what the fuck? And he's got this hard ass dick. And I'm like, but I can't get up. My legs are numb. Will you like help me up? And she was like, yeah. So she like Rick quickly pulls up his pants. She gets away from the door. Brandon and Ben come running in, and she has to like lift me off the bed. And we start walking off my legs. Like, when your legs fall asleep. And so then it was just like, all right, well, Rick, you got your blowjob. So when are we going to get our NSYNC passes? And he's like, I'll give you the NSYNC passes in a few days. Just give me a few days. I never saw Rick again. Ever again. Never, ever again. Every time we go over to Brandon's house after that, Rick was never there. Ever again. I couldn't pick the guy out of a lineup. I could probably pick the guy out of a lineup, actually. That's your first blowjob, of course you remember. But don't know his last name. Never saw him again. Never got the backstage passes. Nope. So I had to go through that. I mean, I guess it's a fun story. And we never got to meet NSYNC. And then I went to college that next year, right? I went to college, and there's these two dudes that lived on my floor, my dorm room floor, Adam and Burke. I doubt they'll listen to this, but Adam was actually ended up being like my first love. Adam, love him. We had this like dramatic on and off 10-year relationship, but man, that guy means a lot to me. And we see each other like once a year when I go home. He has like a wife and 2 kids, and we just have like lunch and catch up. But Burke was his roommate at the time, and Burke and I started to hang out before Adam and I did. And so one night, it was like 2 weeks into school, maybe less, I can't remember, but I'm sitting in Burke's dorm room. And in their dorm room, Adam's gone, and I'm telling Burke about my first blowjob, and I'm asking him, please don't tell anybody. And he's like, of course not. And he's being very sweet and very understanding, and he listens to the story. And then I don't know what happened. I mean, I kind of do, but I don't want to speculate but my side of the story is I think I started liking Adam out of nowhere and just sort of like left Burke high and dry. If you ask Burke now, 20 years later, he'll probably just tell me he hated me, because he started hating me a lot after that. Him and his friend Chris, who actually now are friends. Chris and I, made amends or whatever, but they like hated me for like a year. Like hated me. Like they would walk in to parties and just like, so they would walk into parties. So Burke told Chris about my first blowjob, and they would walk into parties and, big like basement parties, college basement parties, and be like, hey, everyone, raise your hand if you ever blew someone for NSYNC tickets, which always pissed me off, because I was like, at least say backstage passes. Like, I wouldn't blow someone for tickets. Tickets were easy to get. The backstage passes were the ones that were elusive, but like, at least say backstage passes when you're trying to humiliate me. And so he's like, hey, raise your hand, and the whole music stops, and then they're like, raise your hand if you ever blew someone for NSYNC tickets. And I would raise my hand because, like, I have no shame. And also, I was always the believer that, like, you can't bully me or shame me if I'm like, yeah, I did it. Because, like, after I did that a couple of times, the novelty wore off, and it was just like, oh, it doesn't bother her, so we'll just, but, like, what dicks, right? I mean, they were 18-year-old boys, and they're both, like, married with kids now. And if you're listening, guys, there's no hard feelings. But like, oh, man, that haunted me for a long time. First blowjob. I don't remember my second one, or my third one, or my fourth one. I don't remember my 50,000th one. I don't know if I've given 50,000 blowjobs. Who knows? You know what I mean? I'm this age. I've had a lot of boyfriends. But, like, that first blowjob, man, and I never got backstage passes. And I feel like if I ever meet any of the members of NSYNC, I'm going to, for some reason, tell them that story. And it's a different era, and it's actually kind of like, I don't know where to go from here. I still have some more time and left in the podcast. I did the poop scoop. Too much information. I again think, you know what? I think this whole thing is just too much information. I appreciate I'm getting a lot of DMs, with a lot of good feedback for this, where you guys are loving my honesty and my honesty. So I will always be that honest. I don't understand why people aren't. I just don't get why people are not honest about everything. Like, we're all in this thing together. And I don't know. I mean, whatever. We all should just be. I just got distracted. Also, I don't know how to end from there. I tell you my first blowjob story. I can happily say that I don't feel upset or betrayed. If I ever did see Rick, I would I think I would be able to recognize him. I mean, God, it was like 20 years ago, dude. 20 years ago. And I often wonder what his side of the story is. Like, both is very traumatic. I just remember, you know what I remember the most about that whole situation, besides not getting my backstage passes? The taste of the poly grip in my mouth. Like, I still can taste that fucking poly grip in my mouth. It's so gross. Not good at all. Let's see here. Oh, man. Let's just bring this thing home, This is episode 8. I'm really excited. I love that you're all listening to this. If you like it and you get a second, I would love it if you subscribed and then rated and reviewed it. If you write a review, it's so important. I've been doing this like a month and a half, and I have a couple more weeks to get, a bunch more reviews. And if I get a bunch more reviews, then iTunes will feature me. So if you could it'll take 2 minutes. It means so much to me. And follow me on all the socials, KYMKRAL. New episode of this comes out every Wednesday at noon. And then coming soon, hopefully really, really soon, Kral Space Live on Dash Comedy Radio Monday nights. So lots of talk about all of this stuff. And I like to end my podcast with my show with a segment I like to call I Am One Lucky Broad. And it's just it's to end this madness with something I feel really grateful for. So I'm one lucky broad because I have a home. Well, I have a home in general, but like I have an apartment that is mine and is comfortable and cool. Like, not like cool, like it is nice and cool right now. It's like 70 degrees, which is awesome. But like cool as in like, I don't know. I've always had a little bit of shame around the way my place was decorated. And that goes back to childhood. I was raised by my dad, and that wasn't his fault. He's a dude. So like he did the best he could decorating our house. But like, I go over to my friend's house who had like moms, and their homes just had a different feel to them because there was a mom in there, or like a woman's touch, or the decorating, like feminine energy, whatever that meant, and ours just didn't. And like, and like looking back, like I wish I had known what I know now, and like that our house was awesome, but it just didn't have, like the throw pillows or the matching this or like frames, or we had frames, but like, it just wasn't decorated the way like all my friends who had moms' houses were. And so I always had like some shame, or like I felt like I had this like gap of knowledge on how to make my home homey, because I didn't have that, I didn't have that stuff. I mean, I remember my mom years later, she married my stepdad, and they got this house in the country, and the house was like, had a woman's touch and was like perfectly decorated. And I loved it there, but I remember always having like a ting of like sadness that I didn't get to grow up in a house that had that, like painted wall. Like I grew up in a nice home in Littleton, Colorado, but like it just wasn't, I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but I was sitting in my desk last night and I was looking around my apartment, and like it has that touch. It's like got this like comfortable, cool, feminine touch. Like, the walls are painted fun colors and it's decorated nice. It's just really comfortable and homey, and I have a nice couch, and it's just, I just looked around and I was just like, man, I have a home, and I'm one lucky broad because I have a home. And And that's something I strived for my whole life, a place that I felt safe and at home. And as always, this is such a roller coaster ride. We went from blowing out my boyfriend's toilet to my first blowjob and NSYNC tickets, and now just this solace, I have a home, but I am one lucky broad for that. And I'm one lucky broad for all of you listening, and for every awesome opportunity that's happening. Right now, I'm really excited and lucky. And so please, please, please rate and review. I would love it. It means so much to me. And also, if you have other podcasts you listen to, do that for them too. It's such a tiny thing that you put off and you don't really think means so much to us, but it really means a lot to us. So rate, review. I'll be back next Wednesday at noon, and coming soon Monday nights on Marcus King Presents Comedy Radio. And I'm Kim Kral. This has been Kral Space. Stay safe out there and wear your goddamn mask. Just wear your mask. Jesus. I'll see you next week. Bye.